Welcome to episode 17 of the Perrysburg Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Newlove. The Perrysburg Podcast is an informational podcast for prospective, new, and current Perrysburg, Ohio residents. We talk about what's in Perrysburg and why people like to live here. You can find the show notes for this episode on perrysburgpodcast.com. Today, we're talking about the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce. Their mission is to promote an environment of opportunity and growth for business and the community at large in the Perrysburg area. I have lived in Perrysburg for a little over 16 years, and I don't actually know much about the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited about this episode because to learn more, I had the opportunity to reach out to Tim Ansted, the executive director of the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce, and learn more. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Tim Ansted. Hi, Tim. Welcome to the Perrysburg Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, Kim. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm trying to talk to all of the movers and shakers in Perrysburg as I go forward with this podcast, and you are the executive director of the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce, so I had to include you in the podcast.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm a mover and shaker, but yeah, no, I've been here at the Perrysburg Chamber for I'm going to hit my 2-year anniversary here at the end of this month. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a lot of great learning experience for me, and one of the cool things about being with the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce is that I'm from here. I graduated from Perrysburg High School in 2002, and then I moved away for 20 years, and then I got to come back and kind of be right here, ground zero in the middle of Perrysburg and the business community. Some of the local politics, with which I've noticed haven't changed much in 20 years. It's still things that people that get on each other's nerves and bicker about. But yeah, it's just been a really good experience to be able to come back here to my hometown and manage the Perrysburg Chamber. And yeah, no, it's been a really good experience, and I love being back in Perrysburg. Something we'll probably hit on at some point in this podcast is why people are coming to Perrysburg, and something that I've noticed is a lot of people kind of in my age range that graduated from Perrysburg in the late 90s or early 2000s. They had always said they're never coming back to Perrysburg, they're never moving back to Perrysburg. Everyone always seems to find a way back here, and it's because it's a great community and it's a great place to raise a family and have kids at. And, this is just minus the cold weather. I was in Kentucky for 20 years, so it's a little slightly colder up here. And it's much flatter, which I forgot about when I was down in Kentucky for 20 years. But yeah, it's just a great place to raise a family and, kind of do all that kind of stuff. And, just happy to be back. And, yeah, just really looking forward to see what the future holds for us here in Perrysburg.
I love the recap of your last 20 years. That was really cool. As we start to talk about the Chamber of Commerce, though, did you ever see yourself working for the city in any shape or rhyme or reason?
Not at all. So I love this whole podcast idea because, as you know, and now your listeners are about to know, my background is in radio. I worked in radio I graduated from college in 2006. It was Clear Channel Radio back at the time, and now it's iHeartMedia. I worked there for 15 years. That was the only place that I worked, and kind of worked my way up the ranks there. As I started off just, driving the vans around and doing promotions and setting up for concerts and sports broadcasts. And, I left there, I was managing our news, talk, and sports stations for most of the state of Kentucky. So, my background was in radio, and I just kind of thought, I'd always be in radio, and that's just what I'm going to do. And that's what I know. That's what I know. And when we decided to move back to Perrysburg, it was kind of a good opportunity to get out of radio, because radio is a great job, but it's not the best job to have when you're trying to raise little kids, because it's, a lot of time constraints and, off-hour phone calls and, stations going off the air and part-timers not showing up and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a good way to get out. And, I never, to answer your question, I never could have pictured myself as, kind of being the face of, Perrysburg's business and economic development with the Perrysburg Chamber of Commerce, but it kind of became a natural fit with my background in radio and communications and media, and also kind of being from here and having experience. And one of the advantages that I have is Perrysburg likes to reminisce about the past, and something I can do is I can reminisce with some of the, business owners and citizens that have been here for a while about, oh, Perrysburg used to be like this, or, this business used to be a video store, and what happened to video stores, and, stuff like that. So it's kind of a good thing for me to be able to, kind of chat with some of these folks about, what it used to be like here and how much it's changed and how much it's also kind of stayed the same too. So it's been a really, really good experience. And, yeah, I never expected that I'd do it, but I've been loving it for every minute since I've had it. So it's been great.
Glad to hear it. Your people skills have certainly translated well from the radio business into the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, no, something with, with radio is, especially, radio companies like iHeart and Clear Channel, is you get a bunch of, I mean, we had 8 different radio stations in our building. So lots of different personalities. We had top 40 stations and rock stations and country stations and the news talk and sports guys. So you kind of are surrounded by, fun, energetic, but also quite different, people from different backgrounds and have different viewpoints. And they're all just kind of in a hodgepodge of a building. So you kind of have to, learn to think on your feet and be able to communicate to, different types of people and personalities, on a daily basis. So I think that's kind of helped me too, because, especially in the business world, I mean, you're dealing with, small business owners, corporate America, food industry, retail industry. So there's a lot of different, personalities, and kind of being able to learn how to, work with, those different personalities and recognize, strengths and weaknesses has been very beneficial for me.
I'm glad that you've got all the personality types down. I am one of those people who's very clinical as a pharmacist. I can't help it. You can take the pharmacist out of the pharmacy, but you can't take the clinical speaking out of the pharmacist. So that's where I'm at. But I appreciate you for your skill set, your personality set, your ability to work with other people. And as your role as the executive director there at the Chamber of Commerce, can you tell me a little bit of like a 30,000-foot overview? What would the average Perrysburg resident need to know about the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah. So, in general, terms, and if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago when I was applying for the job, I would have been like, I don't know, is kind of do chambering stuff, and commerce, and, have some networking events here and there. But yeah, it kind of ties the business community together. As I said, we, especially in Perrysburg, we have a lot of different industries here, and we're kind of the focal point where we can, educate, businesses and business owners and frontline employees on, human resources topics, or healthcare topics, and that kind of stuff. So we kind of, where the chamber world likes to use the word conduit, where we kind of, are connecting the businesses to city officials, township officials, Wood County officials, and providing resources. And something that I've been able to, with my background in media, is the marketing aspect, and kind of helping businesses with how they can market themselves and promote themselves and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we just kind of bring the business community together. We offer ideas, offer support, networking opportunities, education opportunities. Something that we're going to, start focusing on a little bit more is economic development. We think there's a big opportunity in Perrysburg to, develop with some clean manufacturing facilities. Everybody loves a good neighborhood and a good apartment complex, but there's opportunities, in the Perrysburg area, in the city, and in the township, where we can kind of, build up, in an economic way that helps the tax base, helps the schools. It would relieve the schools some, if we started allocating some more space for, industry and jobs, as opposed to neighborhoods, which, Perrysburg, even when I lived here before, it started going through its growth spurt in the, the mid 2000s, and it's in the area, it's known as a bedroom community, which there's not an issue with that, but, there's opportunities with some of our land to really build up the Perrysburg area with some good industries, some good jobs. And that's something that, that the Perrysburg Chamber has never really dabbled in, but we're starting to kind of look into stuff like that. Some of the bigger picture things, the networking events and the happy hours and the coffees and the luncheons are great. And it's very important, for some chamber members, but also, at some point we got to look at some bigger picture projects where we can, really help the community and kind of move the needle, in the right direction for Perrysburg.
You used the word big just a minute ago. When I think about the sizes of the businesses in Perrysburg, probably one of the biggest employers is the school district, right? So are they part of the Chamber of Commerce too?
Yes, the schools are, and yes, they are the largest employer in Perrysburg. Um, and they're active in the business community. I think it's safe to say that it's obviously public by this point that they tried to pass a pretty significant bond issue, and the community came out in force against it. It was probably going to be a tough one to pass anyway, but the percentage points that it lost by was probably more significant than people um, had expected. And I said I grew up here. In the late '90s, the schools failed 3 straight levies to build what is the current high school. There are a couple other locations they were looking at on 199, and it failed 3 times, and it probably felt like the end of the world at that point. But Perrysburg survived, the schools survived, so I know the schools they'll kind of get back in gear, and their biggest thing is just focusing on educating the students, and the administrators and the school board, they'll figure it out how to have the right plan and right proposal that the taxpayers will buy into, and continue to invest in the schools, because something with being here at the Perrysburg Chamber, I kind of lucked into Perrysburg just has so many opportunities, and the schools is one of them, and the school is a huge driver of people moving here, whether it be for business or leisure. But people are moving here because they know that they have a good school there. So one of the reasons we moved back here is because we want to put our kids through the Perrysburg schools. So people that relocate to Northwest Ohio, the first thing they do if they have kids is they will where are the best schools. So you see a lot of executives and CEOs and leaders of Northwest Ohio companies that are moving to Perrysburg because they want to work in Northwest Ohio, but they want to send their kids to Perrysburg schools. So, but yeah, the schools have been they've been a great member. We had Superintendent Hostler. He spoke at one of our luncheons recently, and yeah, they've been a good partner. And obviously, from a chamber standpoint, having a strong school district is really beneficial to the chamber and promoting Perrysburg as a prosperous business community.
Tim, who are some of the other members of the chamber that are from the bigger employers? Amazon, First Solar, who do we have here?
Yeah, so First Solar, they're members of the chamber. One of the I'm guessing in Northwest Ohio, they're probably one of the largest employers would be Mercy Healthcare, and they obviously have the Perrysburg Hospital here over there on Route 25, and they're very active in the chamber. When they took over the St. Luke's facility and ended up closing it down, they've become a lot more active in the community where comes to sponsoring community events. They're providing speakers for our luncheons. They've given us some education opportunities through some of their specialists. So they've done a really good job of being active in the community, and also I won't say taking ownership, but with some of these events and some of these chamber type things. And Mercy Health is really active. ProMedica, they're a huge employer too. They're invested in the schools. So they provide the sports trainers for Perrysburg schools. They've got some stuff going on at the stadium. So that's their investment in the community is, they're investing in Perrysburg schools, and they have a great partnership with Perrysburg schools. So, both those healthcare companies are, huge parts of Perrysburg. They're huge job creators, and obviously really help our economy.
Tim, there's a few different sections of Perrysburg now. We've got the historic downtown, we've got the Levis Commons area, we've got Route 20. There's just so many businesses all spread out throughout Perrysburg. Who are some of the smaller businesses that join the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, so we do. You mentioned all those different areas, and some of the hot pockets, I guess, would be the historic downtown area, where we do get a lot of the retail shops, a lot of the insurance companies and financial guys and banks that are in downtown Perrysburg. They're very active in the chamber. They kind of use it as like a networking thing, get their name out there, send some of their, younger reps and associates, out in the community, and to get the word out and make connections. We've got, I know we'll get to at some point, but some small businesses that will use the chamber to kind of promote their sales and specials and events that are coming up. Here in downtown, another, Levis is a great, part of Perrysburg too. And we've got lots of members at Levis Commons, that's mostly, everyone thinks of Levis as mostly retail, but, the upstairs properties of Levis Commons has a lot of businesses, and there's some really prominent large businesses that are based in Perrysburg that are out in Levis Commons that a lot of people don't even know about.
Oh, you've got to drop some names. What are some that are in those upper stories that I don't know about?
So there's a company that's right above Benchmark called Satellytics, and it's a headquarters of a company that does it's like geospatial process. I can't even. It's way above my education level, but they
Interesting.
They do like it's like they do maps, but it's like maps for where companies could it's like maps that is combined with like other information that's like this would be a good location for a company to open a business or build their facility because it's got these resources and these public services and this is the traffic, and it's just right there above Benchmark. And then across the street from is Claude's. Above that they are F&M Bank is opening their regional commercial lending office, so that's exciting. Fidelity just opened a 30 employee branch in Levis Commons. There's a business that it's escaping the name of it, but they're like a fleet management company for like forklifts and like powered equipment for like all the Lowe's and Home Depots. And it's like a $100 million company that's just, based up in the upstairs of Levis Commons. So yeah, and
very cool.
It is really cool. And it's one of those things that you don't know about, but these companies are investing in Perrysburg. Their employees are moving here, their families are moving here, and a lot of these companies they're staying here because Perrysburg is a great place to do your business in. So it is very exciting. Some other kind of I was kind of talking about some of the hotbed areas. Country Charm, they're very active in the chamber. A lot of those businesses, that shopping centers got a little bit of facelift over the past few years. So we've seen some new tenants come in, and that's a really exciting time for Country Charm. And you mentioned Route 20. I mean, I remember, I don't know how long you've been in Perrysburg, but there used to be the French Quarter.
That was where I had my wedding reception. I'm from Pemberville, and there was either the Legion Hall, the church, or go up the road and go to the French Quarter. So I got married in Pemberville and then came up here to French Quarter to have my reception. And sorry to cut you off, but back in the day when I lived in Pemberville, there was nothing between where Pemberville Road hit Route 20 and Kroger. There was like nothing. I don't want to say nothing because there were houses, but what was your experience? What was it like when you were growing up in Perrysburg?
Oh, well, I mean, I'll piggyback off of the French Quarter. We had soccer dads, parents they'd rent a room at the French Quarter on the weekend just so we could all go there and do the holodome with the putt and the pool, and you could swim underneath the pool and be outside, and there was an arcade, and I think the dads were at the bar probably, but who knows? We were too distracted by all the games. But yeah, no, it is like they're some like just some of these like hidden gems. Like I'm right here at Perry's Landing, across the street from Perry's Landing, where the Shamaz salon place is. It used to be a Video Connection. That's where people would go and rent their videos back in the day. And then Video Connection was moved over to where the Subway is in River Place. That was what people did, on Friday nights is they'd go to rent a movie, and get a pizza and popcorn and all that kind of stuff. So it has changed a lot. That's just technology. But yeah, there's so many like old school places that, we'll reminisce about, Broski's Pizza in downtown was a pretty popular place. The parking lot of the Way Library, right by the railroad tracks, was the first Marco's Pizza in Northwest Ohio. On that side of the railroad tracks, there's a little Marco's Pizza there. So, but yeah, no, just lots of, and I went to every single elementary school. My parents moved us around a lot in Perrysburg, so I've been every elementary school. It still has the small town feel. I know it's about twice as big population wise as it was when I grew up here, but it still, still feels like a small town. It's just the only difference I feel like is you can see these neighborhoods from the expressway, which you couldn't used to see before. So, and people complain about the traffic. I've been in big cities a lot in my life, and traffic here is not as bad as some people think. You have to sit there and wait a couple of clicks out on Route 20 to turn left. It's not the end of the world. So I've been in a lot worse traffic jams. Yeah, we were mentioning about Route 20, and there's still a lot more growth coming to that area, but it's just so nice to kind of see that French Quarter space get rejuvenated. And then even as you get into Perrysburg Township and Rossford, there's just a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of shops, lots of retail. For the most part, it's strong, and it's just kind of a great part of having all these different options and places to go. And like my mom, they live, I guess it would be the old part of town over by Woodland School. There are times where my mom would be like, I've been driven to their side of town in months. She just kind of stays on her side of town because everything she needs is there. And it wasn't like that growing up. Growing up, we had to go to Airport Highway if we wanted to go to Best Buy or Sporting Goods Store or Target. Now all that stuff is right here in Perrysburg, which is really nice.
Tim, you talked about some of the bigger businesses, more than one employee. How about some of the solopreneurs in Perrysburg? Do single person businesses join the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, a lot of them. We have quite a few. I think what works for them is, I'd say our price point probably works. Is the membership is pretty affordable for a sole proprietor type business, and the chamber. I say a lot to this when people are thinking about joining. It's what you put into it. I mean, you can join, and then there's a multitude of opportunities to participate. And we'll have people that will join, and I'll have to nudge them a couple months after they join and be like, hey, you invested in this and you're not really using it. Here's some more options. You should take advantage of it. But yeah, I think the smaller, one person businesses, they enjoy it because there's no pressure to participate, but they know that they're investing. Usually the smaller businesses don't have a huge marketing, membership, that kind of budget. So whenever they do make that investment, they do a pretty good job at taking advantage of it. And some of those smaller, single person businesses are some of my more active chamber members when it comes to participating in networking events and luncheons and education events. So yeah, it's great to any kind of participation I can get is good, not only for me and the chamber, but it's good for the other members too that are participating, because the more people you have participating and talking and sharing best practices and exchanging contact information, it's good for the whole business community as a whole when you have those kind of connections.
I like what you're talking about with luncheons, networking events, educational opportunities, economic development. Can we talk about some of those different parts of the Chamber of Commerce? For example, the luncheons. How often are they? Are there any costs associated with that? Tell me about the luncheons.
Yeah, the luncheons are they're once a month. So we normally do them the third Wednesday of the month. And for the most part, we have them at Belmont Country Club. I try to mix it up and do about 3, I call them field trips a year. We've done a couple at WW Night Nature Preserve. They were actually really nice. It's kind of like a banquet room where the tables are part of the rental fee. The chairs are there. We can bring in our own catering. They have the tech. We're close to outgrowing that room, but they do weddings in there. They do all kinds of conferences and stuff. It's actually really nice.
Yeah, graduation parties too. Their community room's nice. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, definitely nice.
Yeah, it's got some weird. I think it's called the Hankinson Room. Maybe I might have made that up, but yeah, it's a really nice facility. We've gone outside of Perrysburg for a few luncheons. We did one at the Great Lakes Museum over there on the east side of Toledo, which is really nice. We've done them at the 180th. The 180th Fighter Wing does a really nice program where they'll have the air commander come and kind of talk about, his big thing is, a lot of these guardsmen, they are just part-time guardsmen where they're just working there, I think, one weekend a month or something like that. And how hireable they are in the community and how they already have their benefits, taken on through the military. And that's a really nice program. And they also give us tours and we get to watch the jets take off and fire up their afterburners, which is kind of cool too. Everyone just thinks they're on the Top Gun set. But yeah, so the luncheons, they're a great opportunity. We bring in a speaker, kind of to help with the education component. We introduce new members. We'll do like a community spotlight, like if there's an event going on in town or if there's a nonprofit that we want to focus on, we'll give them a little spotlight in front of the group. There's networking. And yeah, it's just a really nice way to bring chamber members together. A lot of times I use it as recruitment. So like there's someone that was on the fence about joining, we'll bring them to luncheons, and then kind of see what it's like and meet some of the folks and make the decision for themselves if it's going to be the right move and right investment for them. And yeah, so it's the luncheons are and I have to talk at them a bunch of times. And I'm, you never would, I don't know, most people don't understand this, but I'm not a talk in front of a bunch of people type of person. I never was. When I was in radio, I was behind the scenes, producing and managing the station. But with this job,
Tim, you need to come to my Toastmasters club.
Okay.
We call it Westgate Toastmasters,
Yeah.
even though we don't meet in the Westgate area in Toledo anymore. We actually meet at the Girl Scouts of Western Ohio in Maumee. I'm just saying, if anybody out there listening to this needs to improve their public speaking skills, Toastmasters is a great place to do it.
So my biggest thing is when I was young in radio, I was kind of groomed by the rock radio guys where they put me on the air and we would talk about stupid stuff and they'd reminisce about the glory days and make fun of me for being, young and stupid and making bad decisions. But they so now when I would do these chamber things, like I gotta be careful. I gotta have a filter, because in radio, when you're hanging out with the rock guys, you can kind of, push the envelope a little bit. So I always gotta, kind of take a step back. And sometimes I'll say something at a chamber meeting. I'll ask my board president, "Was that okay?" He's like, "Yeah, that was fine. You can get away with that." So, but it's fun, and I think it adds a little personality to the events. And
can I ask how much it costs to attend a luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, they're $20. And that gets you, a nice spread from Belmont. And the Belmont folks have always done a really good job with the food, and people just have complimented the food pretty well. So it's definitely worth it, and I haven't got any pushback. So I think I'm at the right point for price.
Is there any different cost for the field trips, as you call them, to WW Night, Great Lakes Museum?
Nope. Usually with those kind of things, we work it out. Like Great Lakes Museum, for example, they were just happy to get a group like the Chamber in there to see it because they know that getting us in there means that we'll come back with our families, or maybe another business that's there will use their facility for their luncheon or their dinner or their evening thing. So all those businesses are, it's savvy for them to get, a group of 50, 60, 70 decision makers from Perrysburg in their facility just so they can see it. But usually for those, it's just the same price that it'd normally be for the luncheon, for the food. I'm trying to think if we had any other, fun excursions. Some that we're looking at in the future is we want to do the Oak openings. Yeah, we're going to try to do something out there because they got a pretty big visitor center there. So we're going to try to get the chamber members out there. So a lot of it is just trying to, give them experiences. There's a boat that goes up and down the Maumee River out of Toledo called the Glass City Pearl. That'd be pretty cool to get everyone on, kind of like a fun, happy hour networking type event. So yeah, we're trying to, there's nothing wrong with doing them, at, the country club every so often, but it's kind of good to get out too, because, and also, we did one a couple months into the opening of Claude's restaurant, and people that had never come to a chamber event wanted to come to that one because they wanted to go to Claude's, and see it and have some good Claude's food. So just kind of doing those things and mixed up a little bit has been, I think, a good decision, and just been nice to get out and about in the community too.
Tim, how many people usually attend these luncheons?
So we're, normally we're between like 80 and 100. The Claude's one is probably a little bit over 100. And it kind of ebbs and flows with the time of the year. Summers are tough. I mean, we did a coffee event the first week of August this year, and like an hour into the event, I was like, "Where is everybody?" And somebody looked at me and goes, "Oh, everybody in Perrysburg goes on vacation for the first 2 weeks of August right before school starts." Like, "Oh, okay, well, that's good to know. We won't do anything the first week of August ever again." Summers are a little bit more challenging because of people's vacation schedules. But the fall and the spring are kind of our sweet spots. A lot of it depends on, the venue health, but sometimes, like we have a luncheon, our November luncheon, our RSVP list is a lot bigger than it normally is. But I think that's because we have a speaker who's a prominent doctor in the area that a lot of people know, that has done some missions work in Ukraine and manages a community health clinic in Perrysburg. So he's got a pretty strong reputation. So I think when people saw his name, as the speaker, I think a lot more people want to come and, support him and see what he has to say. So I think that helps too, having, strong, compelling speakers that kind of attract, them, because we'll get our core group of members that will come to everything, but, having a speaker or an education component or just something that can kind of hook in the people that, are sometimes on the fence with participating in a chamber event is kind of a good thing to kind of focus on when trying to keep this thing kind of on its upward trajectory.
Would you say that there are networking opportunities outside of the lunches, or are they only with the lunches?
Yeah, so we do. We have a coffee series that I call Coffee with a Purpose. And my initial reason for Coffee with a Purpose was we were going to have one of the healthcare providers sponsor it and provide a speaker and education. Well, that fell through. So now it's just called Coffee with a Purpose, and I just kind of make it up on the fly for each one. So our next Coffee with a Purpose is in December. So this will be a plug for it. We're doing it at Safe Splash Swim School in French Quarter Square there. And the idea there is just to it's just kind of fun to do a coffee event in a place that has an indoor swimming pool. There's probably a lot of chamber people who have never even been in there. So it's a new opportunity for people to see it. I know Safe Splash does really well with their memberships and families and stuff. A lot of those people aren't, active chamber members. So it'd be kind of good to just kind of introduce the chamber to that, facility. That's actually, it took me forever to figure out, the Perrysburg City and Perrysburg Township lines, but that's actually in Perrysburg Township, the Safe Splash in French Quarter Square. So we'll get the Perrysburg Township folks involved, and they'll kind of mobilize their, fire and EMS and police and administration will come and kind of hang out there too. So it'll be kind of a meet and greet to get to know your township officials too. So, but yeah, so we do the Coffee with a Purpose, and then our after hours is called 501 Unplugged. So it starts at 5 o'clock, and it's just kind of and we'll get a different crew for coffees. We'll get a different crew for, happy hour, and you're giving away, free drinks and snacks, at 5 o'clock. You sometimes get a different type of clientele, that just wants to, kind of hang out and, enjoy each other's company. And, that's just kind of a more they're both laid back, but, we'll do one here during the holiday season that we're doing at Lily's at Levis. So it's kind of got like a shopping theme to it, and there'll be like drinks and appetizers. And there's a fundraising component for a nonprofit organization called the Cocoon that's in down in Bowling Green. It's a women's domestic abuse shelter, so they'll be donating a portion of their sales. So yeah, and then that'll be a fun one. And we're still in our planning for 2024, but those coffee events and those after hours events are usually pretty popular, and people like to be able to come out, and it's a little bit more laid back networking. There's a little more networking opportunities at those, and there would be at a luncheon where you're sitting down at the table with 8 people, and then once the speaker's up, usually everyone just gets up and goes back to work. So yeah, it's a little bit different type of networking, but people like it and they enjoy it. And my big thing is just to keep it fresh and just keep those opportunities coming for people to come together.
Thank you for sharing about the networking opportunities. During the luncheons, you mentioned that sometimes there's an educational component because of the speaker, but do you ever have just straight up educational opportunities for your chamber?
Yeah, so right now, and I want to grow on this, but we do quarterly education luncheons. So they're not the same as the monthly luncheon. So this would be a separate one. And, we've done them at, some of the, places in Paris that we would do them at, like Buckeye State Bank has a conference room, a community room actually, that you can fit, 20 to 30 people in. We've done it at Mercy Health's boardroom, which is the upstairs of the Perrysburg Hospital. And those ones we kind of bring like an ultra focused type of speaker. So I'm trying to think of a couple that we've done recently. So we had NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And they came in and kind of talked about ways to, recognize if an employee or coworker is going through like, a mental health breakdown or needs a break or might be suicidal. And, so for that one, we invited like HR directors and office managers and small business, owners to that. And we actually had a really nice group that came to it. And NAMI did a really nice job kind of, talking about it and spelling it out and just giving, these business leaders, ways to recognize, if there's, a mental health crisis going on with an employee and how to react to it and how to offer them help and that kind of stuff. We've done some of our lunch and education lunches. Like we did one last year during open enrollment that we had some insurance brokers come and talk about, some health insurance savings plans that you can get through the chamber, how to maneuver open enrollment for your, business. And that was kind of another one that we geared towards like the HR managers and the benefits administrators and that kind of stuff. So one that I really want to do, and this might be a tease for 2024. I want to get like whether it be like a physical therapist or a yoga person or something to come and we'll do lunch. And then after lunch, they're going to educate and teach the attendees like some specific exercises or stretches that the employees can do like at 2:00 when they've been sitting in front of the computer all day, what they can just get up and do and move around. I think that'd be kind of cool. Do something like that and give some people, it'd be something different and kind of fun, to, get people up and moving and just teach, here's some stuff that you can do to get your body moving. So you're not just in front of a computer for 8 hours every day. So that's one of my dream ones to do. And, maybe we'll get some high level execs showing up in, their sweatpants and doing jumping jacks. So, but yeah, no. So yeah, that's kind of the I don't want to say smaller, but that's kind of the subsidiary, lunch program that we'll do that would be just focused on education, those which are more ultra focused. And we probably get about 15 to 20 at those. And usually the venues we're using will probably be capacity at 25 to 30. So, it'd be great to get, 60 people at those. We're kind of looking more just a small group type of thing with the discussion and, the invites that go out to that. We'll invite the whole chamber membership, but we kind of will focus on, specific, members and job titles for those education opportunities.
Are there any costs associated with those educational opportunities?
Nope. Those ones, we normally get a sponsor that will sponsor the whole series that pretty much will pay for the lunch, or we'll get, someone to, donate lunch, something like that. So yeah, that's just more of an added value type of thing for being a chamber member.
Now, is the YMCA as an organization part of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The YMCA joined, and they've been great members. So we do,
I'm just saying they have yoga instructors there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I gotta be careful because I got like 10 physical therapists that would be chomping at the bit to be able to get in front of, members to do something like this. So yeah, there's some political maneuvering that has to be done, when I do these kind of things. But yeah, the YMCA would be great. We have some small, like Vital Vibes Yoga right here on 3rd Street. They're a member. So,
yeah, so you have a difficult job of deciding who would be in front of the people, right?
I do have to do some maneuvering to try to keep everyone happy. It's impossible, but a lot of times it's just maneuvering to where, I can give them opportunities in other ways that might not be in front of the entire group. So that's one of the things about this job is, I was at a bank for a grand opening and I was talking and like their management put me on the spot and be like, oh, this is in front of the whole, group that was there for the grand opening. They're just like, oh, you should move your bank account over to here. And I was like, well, if I do that, there's 20 other banks that are members of the chambers. I can't have 20 bank accounts and make everyone happy. So, but yeah, so it's not too bad with the maneuvering with, those kind of things. But yeah, the Y has been a great member. They do something cool that we do. And I don't want to get too off topic, but we do we have the farmers market, the Perrysburg market days that goes on 20 some odd weeks. And the chamber buys booth space at the market. And I allocate that space for all the nonprofits and mission driven and civic organizations. So we're not going to put a bank there. We're not going to put an insurance person there, passing out, goodies. We're going to put some of the grassroots nonprofits, the Y has used that, to kind of promote memberships, 577 Foundation, Perrysburg School. So it's kind of cool to be able to give those groups the opportunity, and they love the opportunity to be able to get in front of a fairly captive audience at the farmers market. I mean, if you get good weather, you get, 5,000-6,000 people there. And some of these groups, love to just be able to be in front and talk about their mission and their goals and, recruit volunteers and just kind of spread the word. So that's been a really big win, I think, for the chamber to be able to offer that opportunity for, all these mission driven and nonprofit groups that are members of the chamber.
Tim, the next topic I want to talk about is economic development in Perrysburg. Can you tell me a little bit about the chamber's plans to develop Perrysburg further economically?
Yeah. So the beginning of this kind of starts with some research that we've done with what other communities are doing successfully when it comes to economic development. And the void that we've noticed in Perrysburg is we don't have, whether it be through the Perrysburg Chamber, whether it be through the city, or whether it be a private organization, an economic development focused organization. So if you look around us, Rossford does a really good job with economic development. Bowling Green does a really good job. Oregon does a great job. And what Oregon has is they have an economic development commission that is privately funded for the most part. And they get some funds from the city of Oregon, but they're privately funded by groups that economic development is important to. And those kind of groups are, the Rudolph Libby's, the healthcare organization, ProMedica, Mercy, because as they invest in those development projects, well, then, they're kind of bearing the fruit from those projects being successful and, businesses coming to an area and people coming to an area. And something that we've noticed in Perrysburg is that we don't really have that focus. So kind of the first step that we're taking with the chamber is we're starting an economic development committee that's just a branch off of the chamber, where we're going to get some business leaders, some civic leaders involved and kind of start focusing on, where are Perrysburg's opportunities to develop? How do we go about? Something we've learned too is that, there's regional groups that get these companies that say they want to move to Northwest Ohio and they want to build a facility. We've learned that Perrysburg's pretty far down the pecking order when it comes to getting those phone calls. Those phone calls are going to other communities. So other communities are more well equipped with their zoning laws, and just more well known to embrace that type of a facility or manufacturing to come to, where Perrysburg has just been looked at as a bedroom community. So we're trying to change that, perception. And a lot of that will just start with, providing opportunities, making it easier for companies to come here. Because a lot of these companies, they could go to 6 different states. They're looking for the place where, it's easiest for them to, plop down and start building and, get going. And they don't want to be sitting in front of planning commissions and zoning officers and trying to get rules changed so they can build. They're looking for something that's more turnkey. So that's kind of, what the chamber's looking at is, making it easier for businesses to come here, making it more attractive and moving us further up the pecking order. And kind of our decision was, well, we're going to start with this economic development committee and get some of the business leaders involved, get, downtown people involved, get library people involved, get the schools people involved, and just really start to think, what we can do to make Perrysburg, an attractive place for businesses, because I mentioned the schools, like having, these businesses come in and build is great for the schools. I mean, I'll use Rossford for an example. And, I don't know if I can quote this correctly, but Rossford may not have to have the school levy for quite a long time because of money they're getting from, the Amazons and the Rossford Business Park, how much that has helped their tax base and how much it is, I think that field house that they built over off 795 at the elementary school was built with, just the tax money from some of these industries that have come in. So
Yeah, it's an amazing facility on Lime City Road.
yeah, I drove
Amazing.
past it today. We were at Penna today and I drove past it and it's just like, why can't we have this in Perrysburg? We'll get there at some point, but yeah, so, that's kind of the opportunities that we're looking at, is to get something like that in Perrysburg, it doesn't have to be an Amazon. It could be 5 or 6 smaller scale, companies that add up to the Amazon type of money. But yeah, it's just making it a more attractive and easier place for a business to decide to, come to Perrysburg. And, I think once we can get them here, it's going to be easier to keep them when, their employees are happy with all the services, the safety of Perrysburg, the shopping, the eateries. That's some of our advantages of Perrysburg is having all those things. It's just getting these companies to initially buy into Perrysburg is what, we're kind of looking at with the chamber and how to create those opportunities and just move ourselves farther up that pecking order when it comes to, getting a business to come here and not another community.
I think starting with a committee is a good place to start. I wish you lots of luck with that. Tim, we talked about a lot of stuff here: luncheons, networking, education, economic development. One thing that I want to make sure we talk about is something that's happening on Saturday, November 25th. What would that be?
Yeah, so it's the Ohio State Michigan football game. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it is the Ohio State Michigan football game. It is Small Business Saturday, and I mention the Ohio State Michigan football game because when I was in Kentucky, Small Business Saturday was huge. Like everyone participated in it, and I've kind of got I've got my finger on the pulse of it this up here the past 2 years, and a lot of the downtown businesses are like, yeah, it's great that Small Business Saturday is that day, but everyone's watching the football game, everyone's going to the football game, everyone's having football game parties. So kind of what I've learned is that the businesses they embrace the whole weekend. So they'll do a Black Friday deal, they'll do a Small Business Saturday deal, they'll do something on Sunday, and turn it into like a whole weekend type of thing. And I think that it's smart of them. I mean, because I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not doing anything for 4 or 5 hours on that Saturday, and I get it. And there's great shopping spots. Historic downtown, they'll be doing some things on Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. You got Levis Commons, and by the time this podcast is published, downtown will be lit up with Christmas lights. They'll already have had the Levis Commons Christmas tree lighting, and Santa sleigh, and all that kind of stuff out there. So not even just with Small Business Saturday, but the whole holiday season in Perrysburg is going to be really festive. And we have the holiday parade coming up on December 3rd, which is a Sunday. So that'll be a great day in the community. And something I've learned about kind of the parades and the big events that we have is we bring in a lot of people from outside of the community that will come to Perrysburg to experience a parade or a festival, which is great. That's awesome. We bring those people in, but it also kind of brings the community together, and the community kind of gets on board and has a whole Perrysburg celebration too. So we kind of get the best of both worlds, where we're bringing in people from outside, but also celebrating Perrysburg, as a community. So it's been really nice to kind of see all those opportunities pop up, with events, whether it be downtown or Levis or somewhere else. But yeah, so Small Business Saturday, we're looking forward to it. And I think that, it's just really a good idea for the businesses to kind of embrace the whole weekend and, take the Black Friday thing. I think on Monday or Tuesday, Monday, Cyber Monday, and Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. I don't know how we keep up with all this stuff. But
I feel the same way, Tim.
Yeah. So, but we're just super excited to kick off the holiday season here in Perrysburg. And, as I said, there's a lot of things going on with, tree lightings and downtown lightings and parades. And there's a holiday open house at some point downtown. So the biggest thing is just, bringing people to our downtown, bringing people to Levis Commons, and enjoying it as a community.
Now, do you happen to know what the businesses do for the Small Business Saturday? I know you said it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but do they have sales, or what's your experience with that?
Yeah, so a lot of doing sales. Something cool that we're doing now that I have some part-time and intern help at the chamber is we're actually compiling kind of a list of chamber members, and if they're not even chamber members, we'll put it in there, of what some of the sales and specials are for some of these retail companies, and we're going to publish it and kind of help them get the word out on things that they have going on. But yeah, lots of specials, lots of discounted gift cards, goodies. Some of the retail businesses like to do too is they like to have snacks and drinks and stuff during these events. So gives people a reason to come into a store and get a Christmas cookie and a drink or something, and shop around. So and then the downtown restaurants and bars, they all have things going on too, or there might be like a special seasonal drink or a food special or something. So Perrysburg does a really good job kind of embracing the holidays, and it is nice, as long as it's not, minus 10 degrees outside, you'll see a lot of people kind of walking around, even though with the time change, it gets so dark early, you'll be seeing a lot of people walking around and enjoying our downtown and enjoying Levis Commons, which is just really nice to see. And I know a lot of the businesses, they count on, the holiday sales to keep them going through, kind of the slower months of January, February, and March. So, yeah, it's good to see that foot traffic and people enjoying our community.
You had me at cookie. I'll have to check out all these sales. You said you were going to put something together and publish it to help with awareness about what's going on. Where will you be publishing that?
Yeah, so we'll put that on our website. We'll get out to our members. We'll put on our social media accounts. Perrysburg Chamber, Facebook and Instagram are really active. So we'll just get that out and just help spread the word. It's, we talked a little about added value for members. That's just like another value added type of thing that, we can provide for our members and just get the word out and help them kind of, get across the finish line when it comes to, the holiday, numbers.
What is the website for Perrysburg Chamber of Commerce?
It's pretty simple. It's perrysburgchamber.com. Something that I've learned, being I am a sole proprietor. I'm the only employee of the Perrysburg Chamber. It's hard to keep up with, everything. So, the website I have a note that tells me to update the website or look at it once a week. Because if I don't, I'll forget about it for 3 weeks and I'll be like, oh, we just had those events. I never put it on the website. It's a chore doing website and social media, especially when you got all your other things going on. But we do a really good job, keeping our social media updated, keeping our events calendar updated on our website. Has been kind of a priority for me this year, and we've done a really good job keeping that. That's another added value type thing is when members give us events, we can put it on our website and have a landing page for them too. So. But yeah, perrysburgchamber.com, we'll have our entire event calendar. You can sign up to be a member, lots of photos, some of the bigger events we do are promoted on there, our golf outing, our homecoming festival, and then some of the larger scale other events that go on in Perrysburg. Like we got an eclipse coming up in April of 2024 that people are already planning for. So yeah, lots of things on the website that you can check out whenever.
Thanks for sharing that. Tim, I think we're about out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wrap this up?
No, I just, really appreciate you taking the time. Podcasting and radio, I have a soft spot, for those things. So I love that you've embraced it, with the Perrysburg podcast, your pharmacist podcast. I just think it's a really cool thing that you're doing, kind of grabbing the bull by the horns and taking advantage of something that it appears you have a passion for, and it's just really cool. And I hope you keep up the good work.
Thank you very kindly. You have just earned yourself another invitation to come back.
Well, maybe we can talk about my old radio days. I can tell you some stories.
That would be cool.
I have to put a parental advisory on that one.
Oh my. Well,
not too bad.
I might have to get out my censor button and go bleep.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, eventually on this podcast, I would like to have more interviews with people who grew up here, who can kind of give a testimonial about why this town is great. Like what's in this town? What would you want people who are visiting this town or who are looking to move here or brand new here to know about this town? So eventually we might have to talk about that. And yeah, you can stick in some of your radio day stuff as well.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great because, something that I've learned, and I'll wrap this up real quick, but something I've learned is that people are very passionate about Perrysburg. They love talking about it. They just kind of love loving on the community and the place that they were born and raised in. So I don't think you'll have a tough time finding people that want to come in and, brag about their upbringing in Perrysburg.
Awesome. Well, thank you for accepting my invitation to come back. We'll have to make that happen. Tim, thank you very much for being here on the Perrysburg Podcast. Take care.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks for listening to episode 17 of the Perrysburg Podcast. Please visit perrysburgpodcast.com to read the show notes. In the show notes, you'll find the Perrysburg Area Chamber of Commerce's website and contact information. If you know someone who owns a business in Perrysburg or might like to start one and needs to join the Chamber of Commerce, please share this episode with them. And if you like this podcast, please subscribe to or follow the Perrysburg Podcast on your favorite podcast player and YouTube to get each new episode right when it comes out. Thanks for listening today. I'll talk to you next Friday.